What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast.
Yo.
I'm Will. That's Casino over there. How we doing today, Casino? Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm
Shade.
fresh, man.
Because
I'm
the
doing
future
good.
of this podcast is so bright.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
there
bright.
it is. I like that. No, I'm doing fantastic. Did a lot of dad stuff today, which was great. No joke. I took some old clothes to Goodwill. I went to the pool store to do some pool stuff. Took the kid to the park. Went to the bank. You know, I'm feeling very daddish today. No, a kid. My kid, just left my kid here, unattended. So the dogs took care of her. I mean, I came back and, I asked Rodney if he did okay or if she did okay. And he was like, yeah, everything's good. My dogs can talk.
People at the park are like, oh, is this your kid? And you're like, well, I'm a dad. So you're not directly lying to them, but it is answering the question.
Yeah. That's very true. It's very true. But no, how are you, man?
Fantastic. It is Tuesday here. We are about 3 hours away from Philadelphia Celtics. If I said this on the last pod, Casino, I said, and I even text this to you, I said, if the Sixers lose both or one of these games, the series is over. And that's exactly what they did. I still think the series is over, but the Celtics are such dumb shits. Like, just the way they play is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Well,
that's obviously hyperbole.
It's funny because, you were at Chuck E. Cheese, right? You said that's Chuck E. Cheese? Is that what
I was?
Oh, it's gross. I'm so sorry. I mean, that's more dad than anything ever. My coworker yesterday, I was dressed up very dad-like yesterday as well at work. I rolled in. I had shoes on.
Also,
but before
I like
that,
the shirt you're wearing. No jokes.
Thanks, man.
That is a nice shirt.
Yeah, so I got a lot of these. I'll start wearing them. And I was just talking about I had a rough day with the kid yesterday. She was just kind of being a toddler, being two. And he goes, "Oh, I don't want to hear any complaints." And he's got two young kids as well. And I was like, "Why? What's up?" He goes, "I was at 3 hours at Chuck E. Cheese with them the other day." I was like, "Dude, you win all day. You win. So you win this argument as well." Any parent taking their kid to Chuck E. Cheese and then having to take them away from Chuck E. Cheese, like that's what.
True.
So,
but Chuck E. Cheese,
fun little bit.
Pizza
every
slaps.
That's fine. Every time that I have to leave the park with the kid, I literally have to look around. I think I've said this before. I have to look around and make sure people know I'm not stealing a child because she's just screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
And swinging, not punch me, but just yeah. And she's like, no, she swing, slide. Go we. And I'm like, God, man, I'm sorry.
Maybe it's a dad thing, but when you are now at the park with a child, right? Most of the time, your child, when you're at the park with a child that is yours, I don't know if you do this, but I started noticing oh man, you look around the parking lot surrounding the park and you're like, there is weirdly a lot of cars here with just people sitting in them. And there's no explanation why they're sitting at the park. You get what I'm saying?
No, yes. I felt, yes. At least this time around, it was this
thing.
old man just sitting on the bench by himself. He wasn't staring at the playground. He had his back towards the playground, but that's fair enough.
It's still just weird.
You know what? You know what bothered me though was, we're going on tangents. We're just telling you about our day, but what bothered me was all of a sudden a van pulled up and I'm not kidding. There was six children, the oldest probably being 7 years old, all come out of this van, right? And this mom and dad, they're taking forever. The dad doesn't get out. He looks like he's working on the computer, but why aren't your kids in school? First off, there's a week left before school. And like I said, there's one child that wouldn't make preschool. Everybody else would at least be in kindergarten at minimum. And I'm like, okay, but they let the kids out, just literally slide the door open and just let the kids run out. And you have the 7-year-old taking care of the 1.5-year-old kid. And the mom gets out after 10 minutes out of the vehicle with a giant box of chips, which fine, you've got a lot of kids and you're trying, but it's just like, okay, great parenting. You just let your kids jump out of a with weird people around and just let them go and play. That was weird. I didn't like that. But I was thinking that, I've got a really nice backyard, a nice lot, white collar problems. So I should, so I think I'm just going to get a place, like a swing, because I could totally afford it. No,
You're going to
can't
do a
afford it.
daddy daycare situation? Is this what you're saying?
Dude, that would be fun. That would be fun. We don't do
Yeah.
anything in the days. Do you want to come over and do a daddy daycare?
I mean, have you seen daycare prices? We could literally charge $700 for the day, and parents would be like, "That's reasonable compared to what else is around here." Like,
Speaking of daycare and children, how about we talk about the NBA and all those whiny ass bitches?
I mean, I like the thought of the segue, but C plus. C plus,
Okay.
C plus
Right.
segue, but it can get us on our way.
How about whiny ass babies? Does that work?
Okay.
B? Do I get a B now at least? B
A
for
side
baby?
note. What is it? Last night I was watching the Golden Knights, and Oilers game, and the one Golden Knights goalie hurt his hip and had to be helped off the ice. And I was like, oh, and the crowd's doing the standing ovation and stuff. And I was like, didn't some guy just get a fucking skate to the face and get 900 stitches and then come back?
75. But I will say, I'll explain the situation right now. I'll just say it because you're talking about it. One, he played a lot of minor hockey, that goalie in Edmonton. So the fans know him. So that's why there was a good ovation for him there. Is they know him, they respect him.
Anytime a player's hurt, like
but there's a connection there. But he just came back from surgery for a hip. Like he's already got bad, and being a non-contact injury and him to go down like that, he's done. So you're right. Yes,
but a hip injury is such a old man injury.
For goalies, they're down in that position constantly. That it does not look good for him. I mean, he's done for this. I guarantee you, he's done for the season. For a non-contact injury, re-hurting what you just had surgery on, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Do you think hockey players do Kegel exercises to for those positions to hurt less?
Oh, 100%. I guarantee you. Plus, they're hockey players, so they're just constantly banging hot women because they're true men. And I don't know. I'm just trying to make a segue, and I think they're gorgeous men.
Speaking of, ready, watch this segue. Speaking of hot women, you find at the strip club. Who you also find at the strip club is James Harden. So we're talking about the Celtics and Sixers. We're going to start. Also a C plus
I don't
segue.
know. C plus, yes. C plus.
But a Hall of Famer off the court. A potential Hall of Famer on the court. Let's talk about game. Which game was it? It was game
I don't know 3? Anymore.
Yeah.
Where are we even?
They've
what
all
are we
lost
doing?
their meetings. It was game 3 in Philadelphia. If we remember correctly on last episode, I said the Sixers had to not only win one, but both games in Philadelphia for them to even have a shot at winning this series because the Celtics are so much just a better team than the Sixers. And then what happens? The Sixers basically get fucking blown out in this game. Embiid had 30, 13, 3, but Harden just goes ghost mode and posts 16 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists in 41 minutes. And then Maxey does 13, 6, and 2 in 40 minutes. And it's just like, when that game happened, I was like, oh, we're done. It's over. There's no fucking way. And the points in the paint, the turnovers, steals, blocks, assists, fouls, everything was dead even. Like basically, right? Within a couple points. The Sixers actually shot a better 3-point percentage, but it was all like in the paint around the 2-point line, where the Sixers went, or the Celtics went 38 for 86, 44.2% field goal percentage. The Sixers shot way less shots, only 78, hit 31 of them, and were 40%. So it was like, like this game on paper, you're watching it and you're like, oh, this must have been a close game. When you were watching the game live, you're like, how the fuck are the Celtics not winning this game by another 30 points? Like, this was abysmal, Casino. Abysmal.
You know, though, and it's funny because when you're at Chuck E. Cheese, I messaged you and I was just like,
no,
"Are you watching
this is
this game?"
not that
Like,
game.
nah.
This is the Friday game. This is the Friday
Oh,
one.
correct. Yeah, I'm getting my games mixed up here. Sorry. But still, yeah, I mean, you're thinking the Celtics. I mean, the notion's still the same. You think the Celtics were just going to run away with this series, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Celtics are a little wishy-washy right now. They're playing good, and then they don't play good. They're making the little poor decisions down the stretch, and it's showing. So, I mean, I really like your take last time around that Jimmy Butler and the Heat can make these NBA finals.
I really think, especially after watching all these games the past since our last episode, I really think it's going to be Lakers Heat. I don't think any two teams are playing better. Even the Nuggets, who I thought were the clear-cut favorite to just I thought they were going to sweep the Suns, or maybe the Suns could take one game off them. Now all of a sudden they've lost 2 in a row. I think they lose the third one tonight. And then it's just like all of a sudden they're going to be down 3-2 to the Suns. But it's like the Lakers, I mean, we'll talk about that game, but they're just getting production from everybody on that team. LeBron's not even having good games, and they're still like dominating in all facets of the game. But when it comes to the Celtics, they are probably with as good as any other team in these playoffs, just talent-wise. But then when you watch them, they just, I don't know why they are so dead set. But this is broad across the entire NBA. There are nights where every ridiculous 3-point shot is going in. And then there's nights where you cannot make a 3-point shot to save your life. However, the mindset both nights is still the same. We're going to shoot what in this game, I just said it was 44 3-pointers for the Celtics. They made 17. They were killing it in the 2-point range. So you convert half of those to 2 points, you win by 30 points. Like,
right.
What are you doing?
What I like about what the Celtics normally do, and being a 2-point, they drive the lane really well. They play interior basketball better than I think any other team that's left.
Yes. They're the
really
best mid-range shooting team left in the playoffs,
exactly. Like
but they keep jacking up
within the
threes.
3-point range. Yeah, within the 3-point range, they're the best mid-shooting layup. Like they drive in and they'll do the little step back jumper, at 18 feet. They're a great interior shooting team, and I don't know why they don't stick to that. It's almost like the LeBron situation, which one of our listeners, shout out to you, Jake. He brought up he liked your take on how LeBron James, is trying to do the Steph Curry thing, like shooting more threes. He's trying to be the guy. I wonder if that's just like the whole dynamic of just the Celtics. They're like, oh, maybe we get away from our game and just be like, hey, we can do this too. And it's not working for them. I don't know. Because I mean, they still get into the paint. They still get into that the 3-point range, and they're making buckets. So stick to your bread and butter. I hate when the game's on the line and people try to jack up. You're down by 2, and instead of trying to jack up 3 for a win, how about you drive the paint, try to get the foul? LeBron James does it very well. I mean, yes, it's a little more.
He's unstoppable when he does it, and he's still posting up at the 3-point line and jacking up a 3 that has
understand why
30% chance of going
in college ball, just like in just all teams, all basketball. I don't understand why you don't. especially when the game's on the line and people are trying not to foul, or if like a player is in foul trouble, drive the lane, because they're not going to be as aggressive as they would be at the beginning of the game. They're not going to be as aggressive. So you just go for your shot. If you make it, awesome. But if you don't, 90% of the time, it's because they fouled you, because they weren't going to want to give you the easy to bucket to tie it or whatever. So that's my whole take on that. Play your game. Celtics, if you play your game, you will beat this team. You'll beat the Sixers. It is what it is. And you'll probably lose to the Heat anyway, but that's for the next series.
Well, I think at this moment right now on Tuesday, May 9th, what is it? Either of these teams advance to the Eastern Conference, they're getting murdered by the Heat. I mean, you watch, and we can, let's segue to, or no, actually, first let's talk about the second 76er Celtics game, which went into OT with the Sixers winning. And this was the game where I missed it live because I was at Chuck E. Cheese, and then I rewatched it, or I recorded it and watched it when I got home. And this is exactly what the 76ers need to do to win, which is even like Embiid, he was 34 for 13 and 4 assists with 46 minutes left. In the fourth quarter, he literally only scored like 4 points, right? He was he was gone in the most clutch point of the game. But then this is why we were having that run on super teams, on building, teams around 3 guys and then a bunch of role players or a bunch of guys who can do one thing, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Because when you have nights where it was like the Heat, where it was, when LeBron has an off night, you have D Wade. When D Wade has an off night, you have Bosh. For the Sixers, it's when Embiid has a rough night or has a rough quarter, then it's Harden. And this is exactly why you got Harden, because he goes 42 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Embiid is in the paint under the basket to tie it up. He gets double teamed because he's the reigning MVP. And then he dishes it out. Great fucking pass to see in traffic to a wide open Harden who just hits. I mean, he could have stood there for 5 more seconds untouched. Hits a wide open three.
Nobody's crashing towards him. They're like, they just gave up. It's like, okay.
Well, and I believe it was Marcus Smart who decided to double team Embiid in the middle, which if Embiid goes up, he either gets fouled for 2 or he gets a 2-point play +1 for being fouled. There's no way in hell they don't foul him. But to tie, that would have been to tie it. But great. This is why you get James Harden. And then he did the thing after the game where he's giving his shoes to the shooting victim. And I've always said, I like Harden the person. Harden the person seems like a really great guy, right? You never hear any bad things about Harden the guy, right? Only see
you can ask every stripper out there. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. He tips well. So, I'm sure.
But no, that was the whole shooting victim guy in a wheelchair or whatever. They have like that history, and they explained it where he was a big Harden fan. Harden would like talk to him all the time, promise him tickets, and then this was finally the one. And then Harden puts on another 40-point performance, which nobody thought he could do the first one, but 2 in the same series, especially against the Celtics, where I believe the last 10 times they have met in a series, the Celtics are 9-1 against the Sixers. So for Harden to be doing what he's doing right now, not only is it insane he had 1 40-point game, but now he has 2 with the third game tonight, where now all of a sudden this series is tied 2-2, where I thought it would be surely 3-1 or maybe 1-3 going into this game. I really do think Embiid has been rough this series, even with good numbers. He just kind of vanishes in big moments, but I really feel like there is a shot we get a Embiid or a Harden game or an Embiid Harden game to make this a 3-3 series going into game 7, and then weird shit happens in game 7s. So I was down on the Sixers, but I've seen enough in the 2 games they've won where they're going to make me believe, Casino. If they can, but then again, I just referenced it a little bit ago. If the Celtics or the Sixers get to the next round, I really think it's Heat. The Heat just they don't look like the 8th seed. They look like they were the number 1 seed in the East, and they're just like wreaking havoc in the against the Knicks.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that is the Knicks just not playing well and the Knicks just being the Knicks and doing Knick things? Or do you think that's just how great the Heat are playing collectively together right now? I mean, they're pretty much like the Heat's pretty much like a small ball situation, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing about, and we can talk about this Heat Knicks game yesterday. The craziest stat in this whole thing, and when you were watching it, it was insanely obvious, was the total rebounds. It was 35-44 with the Heat, but the Heat got so many second chance buckets because they got 13 offensive rebounds and then 31 of them were defensive. But I swear, watching that game, the 13 offensive rebounds felt like they all happened in the fourth quarter because the Knicks were doing kind of like the comeback thing where they were down by 10 and then they would get within 6 and then the Heat would bring it back up to 12. And then the Knicks finally got it down to where it was like 4 points. And then they're tied. And then they're leading. And then it was like the Knicks would go down. Brunson would jack up a 3. Randall would shoot just an abysmal 2-point attempt. And then both would bounce off the rebound. The Heat would get it back. The Heat would go down the court, and then the Heat would jack up a shot. They'd miss it. And then Bam Adebayo would just get the rebound, put it back in.
That's
and
such
then
a fun name to say.
It is a fun name to say. But it just kept happening like that way, where it was Knicks would miss, Heat would get the rebound, they'd go down, Heat would miss, Heat would get the rebound, and then Heat would put it in. And it like happened like that for 4-minute stretch. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, the Heat are ahead by 10 and there's a minute 30 left. It was just like a very close game. And then all of a sudden the Knicks at the end just could not rebound to save their life, which is crazy because Heat versus Cavs, all they did was dominate the Cavaliers in rebounds. Like that's how they won that series, out rebounding them with their giant tall guys. And the Heat, all they have is basically Kevin Love and Adebayo as like big guys, but then Jimmy Butler is also blocking. I believe yesterday he had like 3 or 4 blocks. So they're just dominating defensively. And then offensively, they just have all these guys who are like, they have Strus yesterday, who he was like 4 for 5 in 3-point shots. I don't know who this guy is. Like they had Vincent, and then Kyle Lowry has had this weird resurgence, but it's like Strus, Vincent, Lowry, and then even Love yesterday are just jacking up 3-point shots where you're like, no way, and then just sinking them. And then Butler's just driving right in the lane.
I said this last episode, they're feeling the energy from Butler. They really are. I would love to play with him as a teammate. Yeah. And then Harden having a real good game. I think that takes a lot of pressure off of all those guys that you just named with Harden playing better. Because now it's like, we have
the Heat. But I get what you're saying.
I meant to say Love.
Yes.
Because Love is better. Every time that I look down, I just see some stats like slowly creeping up. That's what I meant to say. Oy vey.
No, I get what you're saying. But Love
with more players starting to step up, I feel like it's a dominant. Thank you for. I am paying attention. I think the domino effect is kind of happening where every all these players are slightly playing a little better every time. So it takes the pressure off all the other players. And, every time somebody does a little bit better, it's like, oh, well, I don't have to go outrageously like destroy, be a monster in this game, which inevitably makes them more relaxed. And then they do better. And then that makes other people more relaxed. And then they do better. And I really think it's like a domino effect on this team where it started with Jimmy Butler. It's moved a lot. And then it keeps going to loud, keeps going to the next player. Everybody's feeling more confident because they don't have to be the guy because now everybody's playing well. Everybody's playing well, so it makes them relax more, which makes them play better. That's my opinion. And I have a good take on why I don't think this Lakers-Warriors series is over by any means going in with that kind of being talked about. But
that's the last bit on this is I really like with talking about Miami, they have perimeter shooters with Strus and Vincent, and then Jimmy Butler, he can get as streaky a three-point shooter as anybody in the league. But he was basically in this game, he just cut right through the middle and was just doing layup after layup and just great passes to Adebayo, just right in the paint. But Butler yesterday, 27.6 rebounds, 10 assists. Like, if he can do that every game, which he can, and then they can still win the game, like, this is the best team in the East at the moment. They play smart. They know what they are. They really play as a cohesive unit. And then Adebayo yesterday, 23 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, but Kevin Love, only 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was only in there for about 20 minutes, but when he was on the court, he was making smart passes. He made a couple clutch shots. Like, that box score doesn't show how important he was yesterday. But really, it was Strus that I was most impressed with. Like, damn. But
That's
yeah,
true.
the Heat are now up 3-1 with the chance to close out this series, and I really do think they will on Friday.
I think so. I think it's over.
I'm sorry. Tomorrow. I think this series is over. The Knicks, they just defensively, they're getting shut down. And then offensively, like I said, they can't, in the clutch, they can't get anybody to hit a shot. Could they win the next game? Absolutely. But I don't think they win 3 in a row. No fucking way against this Heat team. But now, Casino, let's go to the Lakers Warriors. The first game that took place a couple hours after we recorded our last episode. Really nothing to talk about in that game. It was a Lakers blowout almost from 5 minutes in the game. You were just watching it being like, this is not the Warriors' night. Steph Curry had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in 32 minutes, but they basically him, Klay Thompson, all the starters played maybe, the most they played was 33 minutes. So even they knew, you could tell everybody was like, not our night, it's over. However, it was LeBron had 21, Anthony Davis had 25, 13, and 3, and then D'Angelo Russell had 21 points as well. But yeah, that game was almost over immediately. The Golden State Warriors lose by 30, 127-97. But let's talk about last night's game.
That was an absolute rough game.
Yeah, it wasn't even fun to watch. Even if you were a Lakers fan, that game is just boring as shit. But let's talk about last night's game. If I can find it here, where the Lakers win 104-101. Steph Curry had a pretty good looking 3 at the end, miss. And I found this out this morning, Casino. Steph Curry is 0-12 in his playoff career on potential go-ahead shots in the final 45 seconds of the fourth quarter or OT. So I've always thought of him as clutch because, he's just like that kind of player, but apparently not. Jesus, that was loud as shit.
Hello. Yeah, that was. Hello.
My phone's ringing. It's usually I don't record out here with the computer, so we don't hear it, but wait, hold on. I'm going to mute this.
You've got it. Let's see if I could just do an answer here. I'm going to be the other guy on the line. Okay, he's not in frame, so I can't do the lip reading. was going to do some lip reading, but no. Oh, hi. How's it going?
I'm leaving that in. But
That's fair. That was quick turnaround.
But yeah, so Steph Curry 0 for 12 on shots to put them up. He missed a shot to potentially tie the game, but really what ended it was Draymond Green driving to the hoop and then like jumping in the air out of bounds and then trying to throw a pass where he didn't need to do any of this. He kind of throws it to a guy who is completely covered by Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis gets the ball. That essentially ends the game. I don't know. The last 30 seconds of this game felt very unwarrior-like. It was just like 3 dumb plays in a row where it was just like, what are you doing? The Lakers 100% stole this game because they were down what felt like the entire game and then until the last minute and a half, and then all of a sudden they're in the lead and they just keep shutting down the Warriors. But really the player to heap praise upon at the end of this game was Lonnie Walker, who Walker,
he scored all 15 of his points were in the fourth quarter. And you know what? They needed that. They needed that because Anthony Davis did nothing in the second half. No. Absolutely nothing. And also LeBron James did absolutely nothing in the fourth quarter. I think he was LeBron, if I saw my stats right, 1 for 3 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter. Like, just where is this team? They're getting, I don't want to say lucky, but because these players, I mean, they're working hard. They're in the NBA. They're playing well. And, you know, any player can, they're good enough to be in the NBA. Any player can kind of take over.
Yeah. And in this one,
it was just absolutely crazy. Walker, he stole this game for them. They got outplayed. And this is where I was going to get at is I think the Warriors have outplayed them this series. And Anthony Davis, yes, he's having good games. LeBron just kind of seems like, okay, yeah, he's the superstar. He's producing some stuff, but he's not, you know, taking over games. He's not being the guy in the fourth quarter. Anthony Davis is such a, you know, hot mess. You never know if he's good, never know if he's, you know, going to be good or fall apart. Like last night, he fell apart. He had a great first half. Like, holy hell. Fantastic first half.
Yeah, you thought, watching that first half, you thought it was going to be another Anthony Davis game. And then all of a sudden they come out of halftime and he just, I don't think you can find one highlight except the steal I just mentioned in the second quarter.
Right.
He was just
So
non-existent.
this is where, and yeah, Walker comes off the bench and he posts what he did. I'm really concerned for the Lakers in this. I feel like this is, yes, they're up 3-1 and they just have to win one of the next 3. I feel this is like a very trap situation. Here's my reason why. I already tell you, see your face like, I don't know. This is what's going to happen. If the Warriors, because these have been close games. If one player for the Lakers, Reeves, Russell, or, you know, Walker this time around.
Schroeder, Walker,
if one of these players doesn't step up and you have another James, Anthony Davis, where they're just like mid 20 points, you know, games, the Warriors can win the next game. If they win the next game, obviously if they don't, it's over. But if they win the next game, I'm very worried for the Lakers because then the pressure is on. Right now, there's no pressure on. Everybody's already written off the Warriors. Everybody. The Warriors are done. The Warriors are done.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors are done. Everybody's written them off. The Lakers have all the pressure. All the pressure. I mean, they're LA. They're the Lakers. They got all the pressure. Golden State, they can now play freely. They don't have to worry about the pressure. So they say they win the next game. You know, they keep in an elimination game. They go off. They win it. You go back to LA, right? You go back to LA. Now the pressure's on. I have a feeling that LeBron James being a little washed up. He's not washed up. He's still a great player. He's LeBron James. But, you know, as you said few episodes back, that this is Anthony Davis's team. So
yes,
if Anthony Davis doesn't have a big game and one of these, you know, these randos don't have a solid game backing up. And, James does like a mid 20, 20-point game with he had almost 10 rebounds. He had 9 this time around. All the pressure's on. I could see the Lakers cracking under pressure late in a game and the Warriors taking a game 6 because all the pressure's on them. And then if that happens and it goes to a game 7 and you have to go back into Golden State with the game 7 and you blew your chance to close it out in the 2 previous games. I'm just worried with how I've seen the Lakers play. And I do feel that Golden State has played better, like for a collective game. That, in my opinion, that I've watched a lot of the Laker games this postseason. My bar turns into a Laker bar. I feel like this is a trap situation. I really do, because if the Warriors can win the next one, they pull off,
which I think they do, because it takes place, like you're saying, it takes place at Golden State's going to be at home. So I think they win that series.
In an elimination game, and then the pressure is on in LA. You have to win the LA game because you do not want to go back to Golden State. So game 6 would inevitably be like a game 7 for the Lakers, and they have to make it. They have to win in LA, because if they don't win in LA, good luck trying to beat the Golden State Warriors in Golden State for game 7. So essentially, they've got, in my opinion, the Lakers have 3 game 7 situations here. Like, that's going to be the mentality. That's going to be the feel for this. They have to win the next one. You even said yourself, you think the Warriors win the next one. I think the pressure would be too much for a few of these players, especially these young guys. Obviously, James can play under pressure. Davis can play under pressure. But they're not having outstanding postseasons outside of Davis, playing like a 40-point game or a 10-point game, 40-point game or a 10-point game. Situation. I feel like this is a big trap situation for the Lakers, being up 3-1 in this series. Just that's how I feel. Obviously, you were like, I'm not sure about that. I truly think that this is a trap situation for the Lakers. I really like where the Warriors are sitting in this, because in my mind, the Lakers, they're 3 game 7s in mentality-wise in a row. They don't have any leeway.
Yeah. Well,
the only little bit leeway is next game. It's just the next game. They can close it out on the road and be done. But again, going home worries me. And then obviously a game 7 in Golden State worries me. So that's my hot take. Plus, I feel like this series, 2 of these games have been kind of gifted to the Lakers. There's been a little bit one-sided. So get the officiating a little bit more on track. Again, I'm fine with ticky-tack fouls or whatever. Just make it consistent. And I feel like it hasn't been consistent for a couple of those games. That's just my take on that.
Now, I do agree with what you're saying.
That was a good rant. That was a clean casino NBA rant, and I'm very happy with myself. So I'm going to sit back.
I mean, people, look out your window, because pigs are flying. We never thought we'd see it. But I will say, so we talked about Anthony Davis, the narrative on him, which I think correctly so, in this series, in this playoffs, in his basically, since he got traded to the Lakers career, minus the 2020 year, has been he can't consistently give you an Anthony Davis game, right? An Anthony Davis game used to be a double-double, crazy amount of rebounds, points in the paint, defensively shutting down the big men on the other team, and, leading the Lakers to the promised land like he did in 2020. LeBron, on the other hand, it's crazy. We don't think he's had good games in this playoffs outside of the April 24th game against Memphis, where he had the 22 points, 20 rebounds, right? But
that's not a lot of points. That's not a lot of points. That's just great rebounding.
Well, in this Golden State Warriors game, they've had 4 games. Game 1, he had 22 points, 11 rebounds, but he was 9 for 24 in the field goal percentage, or field goal shots. I'm sorry. In game 2, he was 23 points, 7 rebounds, 10 of 18. Game 3, he was 21 points, 8 rebounds, 6 of 11. Last night's game on Sunday, game 4, he was 27 points, 10 for 25 with 9 rebounds, 6 assists. So he's getting he's averaging what, 22, 23, 21, 27. So he's averaging around 24 points for this series. But for me, it's how many shots he's taking. He is taking an insane amount of shots. The last, or in most of these games, the one game he only had 11 shots, but he's taking 24, 18, 25. He's only making 9, 10, and 10. Like, he is so inefficient
Letting
as
the
a scorer
dog
this
out.
series, but still putting up 25 points. I would be concerned. This is my counter to Casino's take with the Lakers Warriors. We have not had the LeBron James game in this series. We saw it in the Memphis game where he went 22 and 20, basically had a 40-point game, right? Or put up 40, quote unquote. But we have not seen a LeBron James game. And if you watch basketball and you remember the Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers, where the Warriors were up 3-1, and then all of a sudden the Cavaliers came running back, and the kind of rivalry hatred amped up between Steph Curry and LeBron because LeBron had the party with the fake mannequins that were dead that you had to step over to get into the party or some dumb shit like that. It's, in the back of the Warriors' mind, they have this thought where they were like, man, I wish we could do that to the Lakers. Obviously, they didn't want to be down 3-1, but being 3 down to this Lakers team, more specifically to LeBron, that has to give them added motivation of being like, he knocked us out when we were down 3-1 and then made jokes about us being dead at his party and shit like that. Like, in their minds, all they want to do is come back in this series, and just so they can say he beat us 3-1, we beat him 3-1. So I do
Beat
think
him 3-1, yeah.
I do think the Golden State Warriors maybe even win handily in Golden State for the next game, but it really does, because in a game 7, I'm trusting the Warriors just because I think that unit has been through so many game 7s. They're capable of going into LA, pulling out a game like that. But I really think it comes down to that game 6. I mean, if it's game 6 and it's in LA with Lakers Warriors, and the Lakers need to win to advance, the Warriors need to win to advance to game 7. In that scenario, I would take Golden State in a game 7 and a Lakers in a game 6. So I think this series ends in game 6 in LA. I really do. I don't want it to because I hate the Lakers and I enjoy watching the Golden State Warriors more than I do the Lakers, even though I'm not,
Gotcha.
a fan of either team.
I
would take the
I
Warriors.
still think that the pressure is going to be a little too. I think the pressure is going to be a little too much on them in Game 6 in LA, and yeah, unless Anthony Davis has like another 40-point game, I could see this heavily, or the refs winning it for him and calling extremely ticky-tack stuff.
That is one of the things I do want to talk about on next episode because I didn't have time to do it this time. But when it comes to fouls in this series, it has seemed, I don't want to say extremely lopsided and bullshit, but it seemed extremely one-sided and bullshit. In LA, just last night alone, the Warriors had 22 fouls. The Lakers had 15. And again, as close a game as this is, that shit matters. Like, to be a 7 foul difference, and most of those fouls in the fourth quarter alone were like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like,
yeah,
what?
so like
what
again,
foul?
that's like, what did Walker win the game for him in the fourth quarter, or?
I mean,
yeah.
Well, especially when it comes to the Lakers, like the number one example
I'm fine with ticky tack fouls. Like if you want to call, just be fucking consistent. And I will talk about that in hockey in one of the series as well. But yeah, continue. But I just hate the ticky. I be consistent. I don't give a shit if you're ticky tack or if you let things play. Be consistent. We've
Well,
talked about this plenty.
that was our whole argument in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly.
if that last play is holding, then call it holding in the second quarter. You weren't, so that's why it's egregious to call it in the fourth. Like that's, but yeah. And then when we saw
I got to feed my
Lakers
dog.
again, Lakers Warriors, not last game, but 2 games ago when the Lakers absolutely destroyed the Golden State Warriors. Oh, why is this not popping up? The fouls again. 22 on the Warriors, 21 on the Lakers, but it's just like there's 22 fouls played where their starters only played 22, 23 minutes. It's I don't know, just the fouls to me. That one you can say, "Oh, well, they're close," but it's like, yeah, but we're also saying 22 fouls when they didn't play pretty much all the fourth quarter. That's in 3 quarters. Like it's just again, when it comes to the Lakers and the NBA, we all know that the Lakers are the pinnacle of ref fuckery. All we have to look at, if you want to say the NBA scripted or, they vote for or try to influence certain teams to make it further into the playoffs, all you have to do is look at Sacramento Kings and LA from a couple or at this point, Jesus, almost 20 years ago, where the Lakers got the most egregious calls in history and the Kings ended up losing because the free throws the Lakers shot were fucking ridiculous. But that's a rant for another time. Now, Casino, let's talk about the last series, which I thought was over. I thought this series was done. And then all of a sudden, the Nuggets and Suns play, and the Suns win both games on the shoulders of both Booker and Durant. So in game 4, or no, I'm sorry, in game 3, Kevin Durant had 36 points. Booker had 36 points. Durant had 11 rebounds. Booker had 12 assists. And then you also got Shamet with 19 points. But then the real crazy thing to me in this playoffs has been the emergence of Jamal Murray as a clear number 2 star behind Jokic. During the regular season, he was averaging 20 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. In the playoffs, he is in this game. I mean, you talk about this whole playoffs, but in this game specifically, 28 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Jokic had a monster game where he only played 39 minutes, but he went 53 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists. So the sub stories of all these matchups in this playoffs has both been Harden and then Jokic pretty much putting to bed they've never done anything in the playoffs, because both of them are having just absolutely fantastic playoff performances.
That's fair.
Especially Jokic, though, with Embiid winning MVP and then kind of having very quiet, very non-consequential playoff performances. Jokic has just said fuck it and is just now playing like the MVP in the regular season in the postseason, which he's never done before. So, however, I do want to talk about Sunday's game, which Sunday's game had, again, Murray putting up 28 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Jokic, or no, I think I did I click on the wrong game?
So for the Sunday game, Murray was 28, 5 rebounds. Jokic 53 points, 4 rebounds and 11
and
assists.
Still lost.
And they still lost. And the reason being is Devin Booker. I mean, Durant putting up 36 and 11 rebounds. That's Durant stuff. But Booker had 12 assists, 6 rebounds, 36 points. Absolute monster. And then you also had Landry Shamet coming off the bench, and he put up 19, which was good for them. But I still like Denver in this. I just think I don't think Booker can sustain how well he's
Well, that's
played.
the thing. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Sorry. In Friday's game, so that was Sunday's game. Friday's game, Murray had 32, 6, and 5. Jokic went 30, 17, and 17. And then
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. went 21 with 12 rebounds. So, and again, they are putting up those points in 2 games. They lost. Jokic
Yeah.
put up 50 points and then a 30, 17, and 17 triple double. And they're losing because, like you were just saying, Durant and then Booker in that game, in the game on Friday, which was game 3, I believe. Or no, yes, this was game 3.
Friday is game 3.
So in game 3, Durant put up 39, 9, and 8, and then Booker put up 47, 6, and 9. So the Joker and Jamal Murray are just putting on a masterclass in just peak performance, right? Murray obviously performing
A true 1 and 2
regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jokic putting up MVP numbers in the playoffs, which he's never done before, and they're still fucking losing.
But I still like Denver to win the series. I understand what you're saying, but I just don't think that Booker can sustain what he's been doing. I just don't.
Well, the crazy thing for Booker is in this entire playoffs, he is having maybe the quietest dominant performance in a playoffs that no one's really talking about. I mean, he has in his, let's just say, since April 16th against the Clippers, he has put up 26, next game 38, next game 45, next game 30, next game 47, then 27, 35, 47, 36. Like that consistency in a row.
You want to know why, though, people aren't noticing this? Is because it's the Nuggets and the Suns. They're not top markets, and nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Well, I've been saying this whole playoffs. The amount that people don't give a shit about the Nuggets when they might be legitimately the best team in these playoffs is shocking to me. And you know what? I'm guilty of it. Nuggets are maybe the team I give it the shit, like the least amount of shit about in these playoffs. Like,
that's fair.
And again, I just read that like Jokic is putting up triple doubles in 50-point games. Like they're playing some of the best basketball in the playoffs, but no one gives a fuck. Like I really think they only give a fuck about the Suns because of Durant and then Booker having this crazy, crazy run. But yeah, Nuggets Suns, a series I thought I would be super into, is maybe the series I'm least invested in. You know, obviously Heat Knicks is a much worse series, but I like that Heat team. I like how Jimmy Butler's playing. And yeah, I really do think we're talking so much about Lakers, Golden State. I really do think, like you said, Nuggets win this series and then Nuggets just dominate Lakers or Golden State. I think you can pencil into the West, into the NBA Finals from the West.
I agree.
And if they didn't make it, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I want to. The Nuggets they should make this. If they don't, you have to do some investigating here.
Well, the Nuggets were up 2-0. They lost the 2 games in Phoenix, and then tonight it goes back, or no, this game is in Phoenix. So the Suns stole 1 game in Denver. This game tonight is I'm sorry. The Suns won both games in Phoenix. They go back to the Nuggets if they can steal the game tonight in the Nuggets arena, and then it goes back to Phoenix with a chance to close out the series. Then I think the Nuggets are in real trouble. But if the Nuggets win tonight, I think they win the series. I don't think the Suns can beat this team 3 more times.
I mean, it's the best of 3 right now, man. It's the best of 3.
Yeah. I don't think they can beat them. I don't think they can beat them 2 times, let alone 1 time, especially if you have to close out game 7 in Denver. But I don't really want to talk about this game so much because by the time we upload this episode, it's going to be game Um, it's going to be game 5 tonight. So this whole thing could be different by Friday, because they also
Mhm.
play Thursday. So this series could be over by the next time we record. But Casino, we've talked long enough about the NBA. Let's dive into the NHL.
Woo!
Let's first talk about Devils, Hurricanes, 2
Friday
blowouts.
Friday night. But yeah, no, that's how I want to. I want to. I'm going to start off with this series. Um, yeah, just kind of want to start off with this series and then go from there. Um, but I think it might be starting to get a little interesting, and I'll explain why. So, Friday night, as much as I predicted, we had already talked about the first game of Carolina Hurricanes versus the Devils, and that was a complete blowout as well. Well, game 2, much of the same, still in Carolina, where it was a 6-1 blowout against the New Jersey Devils. Another, they pulled their goalie again. The Devils did pull their goalie again. Schmidt got pulled. He let 4 goals in on 25 shots. Not playing well. They did put in, I can never say his name right, Vitek Vancekovic. Yep, that guy.
Nailed
But
it.
the number one, the guy that I assume should be in the net, like from day one or to start the series. I thought that he should be in net. He's had the longer run during the regular season. He's clearly, in my mind, been the number one throughout the season. So I liked the Devils when he's in, and but a little too late. You put him in late again. You pulled the goalie, Schmidt, 2 games in a row, so you got to assume that he's going to start game 3, which he does. But yeah, and then not too much to talk about in this game. 35 shots for the Hurricanes, 29 shots for the Devils. Frederick Anderson, let 1 goal in on 29 shots. He played pretty damn well. Good for him. So then let's move over to the Sunday game, where everybody thought that, okay, Carolina's just going to roll them. It's going to be high scoring. They still scored 4. They still had a really good game. Let me go to this one as well. They still scored 4, so they did produce, but it was reversed, where the Canes pulled their goalie. Frederick Anderson let 4 goals on 12 shots. This playoffs has been a lot of pulled goalies. Normally, you would like to see in a playoff series where most teams try to play their number one as many games as possible, but every now and then, like, okay, we're up 3-1, we're on the road. Let's play the backup. Let's give our guy, we still have some chances to win. Let's give our backup goalie a little bit of time and our starter some rest. That has not been the case this year. It has been pulling goalies mid-game, which almost every team has done it, and I kind of don't like it. But again, so Frederick Anderson gets pulled, and they put in, I guess I didn't write his name down. Oh yeah, I know why I didn't write his name down, because I can't fucking say his name. It's Pyotr. That's his first name, and then
You're
last
killing it
name
with our names today.
Kochetkov. Crazy another name. And he did pretty good. Not the greatest. He still let 4 goals on 22 shots. But going over to the starter now for New Jersey, who I thought should be the starter from the very get-go, Vitek Van Czech, that guy. Yeah. That guy, he did really well. He only let in four goals on 30 shots, but against this high scoring Hurricanes squad and being his first start in this series, not too bad. You needed more from the Canes that game. I mean, you did have Sebastian Aho. He scored a goal, and the rest was you had Jordan Stahl score a goal, which I love the Stahl brothers. That's a fun story. So if you didn't know, you have currently right now, all 4 did play in all 4 did play in the NHL at one point, but 2 of them are on the same team right now, which is fun. And then Jordan Stahl's on the Canes. But yeah, and then one of them is an assistant coach for a minor league team. So That's just fun. That'd be cool if like me and my two brothers were just all in the same sport together and a couple of us on the same team. So
I
anyway,
have no brothers.
I know you
Damn.
get two sisters.
Uh, but after
Anyway,
what you've seen from the Golden Knights, the Oilers, and then even the Panthers and Kraken, if we want to throw them in the mix, do you think the Hurricanes are still the favorites to win the Stanley Cup from what you've seen?
no,
Ooh.
no. But do I have them coming out of the East? Yes, I have them coming out of the East, even beating the Panthers. And I know the Panthers are running a clinic right now on the Maple Leafs, and I'll get into that in a sec. But so New Jersey Devils, they finally needed somebody to step up, and lo and behold, one of their best players of the season, Jack Hughes, who's 43 goals, 56 assists, almost 100-point season now. He finally to a 6-4 victory over the Canes. I really like this pushback by the Devils, and I think now with them making a goalie switch, they can push this series back a little bit. I would say they could win one more. I don't think that I can still see them losing the next one and being a 3-1 and then possibly winning one in Carolina. But I mean, this is going to be either 5-6 games. Carolina's going to win. But I do like to see some pushback. Carolina is still putting up numbers. They're just a high-scoring offense. So this, I'm having trouble watching this series. The East isn't really that interesting to me anymore with the Bruins being out. Because I just expect the Canes to kind of to roll here and go through. And so I guess with that being said, let's lead into the other series over in the East. So this was also on Sunday night. You had Florida, Toronto going in, and I have a lot of Boston friends because the Bees being my first love and got me into hockey. I have a lot of Boston Bruins fans, and a lot of them come to the bar and hang out with me. And I'm trying to have them see the silver lining in this is how the Bruins did lose. Florida's just on an absolute tear right now. Florida is just playing out of their goddamn mind. And going up 3-0 in the series against Toronto, and they have a very high possibility of sweeping Toronto now because Game 4 is going to be in Florida as well.
Which you're rooting for because you love misery.
Oh, yes. I want Toronto to get completely swept. And this was the second point to my Boston Bruins friends is not only is it justified that the Bruins lost to the Panthers, they're playing a good Toronto Maple Leafs, a really good Toronto Maple Leafs team, and they're completely dominating them, just dominating. Yes, this game went into OT. Game 3 did go into OT. Toronto had some fight. I mean, Toronto, they won 61% of their faceoffs. They won 1% of their faceoffs. They were still shooting. It was a low shooting game. It was only 24 shots on goal for the Leafs, 29 shots on goal for the Florida Panthers. So it was a little bit tighter, kind of low hitting game. But yeah, I think the Florida Panthers are going to sweep them, which would be really funny because then the Maple Leafs are out and I'm happy. So, and Maple Leafs being a team that Boston likes to beat up on, and we make fun of them as well. So,
Yeah,
I'm a fan
blue
of this.
collar,
And
white collar. You hate Canada.
Yeah, 100%. But again, trying to see the silver lining in with the Bruins losing is the team that beat you are running a train on a team that you don't care for. So that is fun. But some people I've talked about, they're asking if there was an injury to the goalie. Their goalie got injured mid-game. So Samsonov, their starting goalie, the one that's been playing actually pretty well, going into before he got injured, he had 8 shots against him. He let in 0. He was playing fantastic this game. But Luke Shen ran into him. One of his own players ran into him, and he had to be helped off. They did an MRI. Still really no update on that, but he's not going to be coming back. So you did put in Joseph Wool, and he let in 3 on 21 shots. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's not great percentage-wise, but that's pretty good for any goalie coming off the bench. But I will tie that into the Golden Knights because that's not always the case. But letting 3 on 21 shots coming in cold mid-game, not too bad. You did help him get into overtime. But my biggest takeaway about this Maple Leafs team is their superstars still not doing anything. How many times have I said Mitch Marner needs to step up? Austin Matthews needs to step up. Nylander needs to step up. Nylander did have an assist, but that's it. They need more guys. They need more performance from their best players, and they're not getting it. They're just not. It's really sad to see. I mean, their better defenseman who's got a lot of assists doesn't score a lot this season. Eric Gustafsson, he got one of their goals, one of 2. So at least he produced a little something. But the Maple Leafs are known for scoring this year, and it's tough to see this team struggle with the superstar power that they have in high scoring offensive players, and they haven't done anything. So this is kind of goes back to being a Golden Knights fan, like the bubble era for the Golden Knights, where they had a real good shot of winning the cup that year. However, they couldn't score a goal to save their life. They just couldn't.
Yep.
The offense was gone. It was you would be lucky the Knights to score one goal a game. If you hit struck lightning, 2 goals a game. So this is how it feels for the Maple Leafs this year. Is your superstar goal scorers just aren't scoring.
Well, in Florida, just feels so consistent, especially in the last 6 games. Like they're going to put up minimum 4 goals. They're going to hold you to 2 goals. And then they feel like they're just skating around them out there on the ice. Like,
yeah,
is what you were saying about the Kraken, where it's like the Panthers just look faster and more motivated than the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs just don't look like they even want to be there.
Oh, not anymore. Now they're down. Oh, once they lost the second game at home, the series is over. The series, I'd be absolutely shocked if they steal one in Florida and they go from there. And this is not saying they're a bad team. I'm just going off the track record that that the superstars haven't done anything in this series, and they losing 2 at home already shut it off. Like, oh, Maple Leafs are doing the Maple Leafs thing again. They got past the first round, took them 19 years. Well, guess what? Now we're going to try to get past the second round, and that's not going to happen. It doesn't.
You think the Panthers close them out Wednesday?
I do. I truly do. I think that after losing in OT this last game, I really think the switch is off in their head. Like they're just not gonna. Yeah. They're not gonna be able to do it. They're giving up. Losing 2 at home didn't help, but then now losing a close one and your number 1 goalie's out. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the backup goalie coming in and Joseph Woll and taking again 3 goals on 21 shots. You got to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt that he's coming in cold, and it's tough for most goalies, not all. I'll get to that. Most goalies to do, but also the Panthers were really disciplined in this game. 0 penalties, which fantastic. That's the main goal is power plays. Special teams really helps, and is probably like half, like 50% of how teams win the Stanley Cup. Whether it's how they play on the penalty kill, how they play on the power play. It's very important. Special teams is a massive thing in the playoffs, and they did get one of their goals on the power play. So the Panthers did. So yeah, this series I think is over. I'd be shocked if Toronto wins, but there's no way Toronto runs 4 on them. I don't see it. Florida is just too hot of a team, and I think the Maple Leafs are just so demoralized that God, here we go again. It's
like you said,
it's a loss again.
Haven't gotten through the first round. So it feels like we see this so many times in sports where it's like a team's never done something and then they do it and then they're like big celebration and then it's like there's still more games to play. right? Like,
Oh
we
yeah.
still have to keep going. So they were all celebrating after they got out of the first round, but it's like there's still 4 more rounds technically, the second, third, and then the Stanley Cup. Like, you still got to keep playing. They just don't. They look like they blew their wad so early in it,
Oh
and then
yeah.
it's
They were
like
so
we were just
stoked. They
doing
were so stoked
foreplay.
to get out of the first round, and now they're just like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah, I think that series is
next up,
done.
Casino.
I
Please
want to do
explain
the
the Stars and Kraken series to me because I don't understand it. I don't
in what
understand it at all.
sense? In
I
what
don't I
sense?
don't get these games. I mean, I've watched all of them, but even when I'm watching them, I don't understand uh I don't understand how this series is 2-1 because Seattle looks so good to me, but Dallas doesn't look that bad, but then when Seattle is on, like they look
Again,
unstoppable.
so going like 2 weeks left in the regular season, you asked me which team I thought was hot going in. Dallas. They
Yeah.
did get hit with some injuries, and they've had to fight through that. But Dallas is a grinder of a team. They find ways to win. They're tough to play against. Um, I mean, I wouldn't want to play them. I don't want to play them. I much rather play the Seattle Kraken if the Knights can get through the Oilers. Um, but yeah, so this series, everybody kept picking Seattle playing the Avs. Everybody had the Avs. Seattle playing
Mhm.
Dallas. Everybody's had Dallas. Even my coworker who knows hockey more than me is like, oh, Dallas. I just don't trust Seattle to get it done. Dallas is going to get it done. I'm like, no, I have Seattle winning this series. I truly do
Yeah.
now. If Seattle was
You've
going to
been
fumble,
sneaky
it
on
was
the
going to be the
Kraken.
yeah. If Seattle was going to lose, I thought it was going to be in the first round against the reigning champions, the Avalanche. But that's not not the case. They've got through. Was this series going to be a tough series? I hope it goes 7 games because if the Knights can get through the Oilers, in 6, 5, whatever, I'll take that. Even if it's 7, I want this series to go 7, and I think it could. But again, everybody's shocked, like, wow, Seattle put up 7 on them. It's like, how are you not used to this by now? Seattle is a extremely high scoring team. They're fast. They're really like what Golden Knights were in their first year. They're a fast team, and they know how to score off of the rush, and they're doing that very well this time around. Um, so, like Jake Ottinger, guess what? He got yanked again. Another pull mid game. Jake Ottinger got yanked. He let 5 goals on 17 shots against Seattle. Not
Jesus.
good. And then so Scott Wedgwood comes in. Again, tough to do off the bench, but not always. I'll get to that again. I like playing that little guess game. What's
You're
coming up?
teased. You're
Yeah,
teased.
little tease. There it is. But he let in 2 goals on 8 shots. But coming on relief, that's tough to do. But Seattle just absolutely just went off on Dallas, and I loved every second of it. And they really spread it around. So we've talked about the Knights being a deep team, but what I like about Seattle is they're a deep team as well. And both of these teams have been very underlooked. The Knights are getting some more recognition because they're playing the Oilers, who everybody was like, oh, the Oilers are so hot going to the playoffs. They've got the highest scoring offense. They've got the record-breaking power play offense right now that there's just absolutely no way that the Knights could do this. But then the Knights beat them game 1. They beat them game 3 now. That the Knights are getting recognized and like, oh, how are they doing this? Oh, it's because they're deep. Seattle's deep as well. So I brought up game last episode that the Knights beat the Oilers, and they had 11 players with points. Well, Seattle on Sunday night, they had 12 players with points. So point meaning you got a goal or an assist. That's absolutely spread, and not a single player out of their 7 goals had 2 goals. It was 7 different goal scorers and
Jesus.
multiple assists people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players had assists that didn't score a goal, and then the rest were all goal scorers that had an assist as well, same lines and shit. But this team is deep. Plus, they have some veterans on this team that have won Stanley Cups because you do the expansion draft and you pull in some old guys, some old veteran guys that have played and have made the Stanley Cup and that have won. And so they have experience. And you got to also give it to, this is probably the best I've ever seen Philip Grubauer play. He's got revitalized. Yes, he didn't take that many shot attempts on him. It was only 26, but he only led in 2. His save percentage is quite nice. Yeah, I mean, people are just overlooking the Kraken. They had Dallas winning this game, and it's outrageous to me because it was in Seattle, and I'm like, why do you think that Seattle's not going to win at home with how good they've been? They split in Dallas. Why are we overlooking this team? It's because they're not super flashy. Yes, they're scoring a lot of goals, but they're not the big name guys. Like, it's the same thing that's kind of happening in the NBA with, the Suns and the Nuggets, and you're just kind of overlooking these teams because they're not the big names, they're not the big franchises. And again, I really think the reason the Knights are getting a lot of recognition in this series is because they are playing the Oilers, and you have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the players that are putting up NHL record numbers right now. And they're like, oh, so why are the Knights winning? So that's where I am with the Dallas series. I can see this going 6 games and Seattle taking it. I really like Seattle's game right now. I really like Seattle's game. I don't know. Maybe it's 7 because I think it'll be tough for Seattle to win. Win on the road in Dallas the next time they go up there, or go down there. So that's where I'm at there. But then that leads to, obviously, our team, my favorite team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah. So let me get to that game. So
they lost
Saturday. No, they didn't lose on Saturday. They got absolutely destroyed, annihilated. But they played into Edmonton's game. It was a high penalty game. The Oilers had 12 total penalties. The Knights had 16 total penalties. Yes, some of those have offset because there were a lot of fighting involved and this and that, but 12 penalties and 16 penalties. The amount of minutes that is just so. The Golden Knights had 70 penalty minutes that had to be served, and the Oilers had 54 minutes. This was an absolutely just beat to shit game, but you know why? It's because Evander Kane, who has the most penalty minutes. Any player, like, he's got as many penalties. I think I got to recheck this stat, but I just saw it come across the screen last night that Evander Kane has has tied the most amount of penalties for him for a single player, I think, against like any series, like throughout a series. Obviously he has the most against it, but yeah, Evander Kane, I'll have to look that one up and I'll talk about that next time because obviously the series is not over. But what a dick, by the way, Evander Kane is. One of my least favorite players in the league. He's a cheap player. He's like a Tom Wilson and whatnot. So Keegan Colasar goes down to the ground, and he's on top of Keegan in a defenseless position. Normally, if you go to the ground, it's over. I understand it's hockey. You're going to fight. But he's taking body shots to Keegan until the refs finally see. He gets like 6 body shots into Keegan Colasar while he's on the ground in a defenseless position and then puts him into a headlock. It's like, how does he not get, more than just a minor in that? Like, it's absolutely or that one may have been a major because there was 4 majors collected between the teams. It was just played way into the Oilers games. I mean, Draisaitl had 2 goals. Connor McDavid had 2 goals and an assist. Like, this game was absolutely just Oilers written all over it. There was no way the Knights were going to win this game with how this game was played. It was chippy. It was high in penalties. Evan Bouchard had a goal. So their big are actually seeing. The Knights actually out-hit them this time around, unlike game 1 where they just got almost doubled on hits. They did pull. You gotta keep going. I got 5 minutes. All right, cool. You got 5 minutes. I got this. I'm wrapping it up here. So, stop taking so long on the goddamn NBA. Anyway,
I know.
But so they did pull Laurent Brossoit, and that's not because he was playing bad. It was just tough to bounce back when you let 4 in the first period. and your defense is not playing well in front of you. You know, you're not getting that many shots on goal. It's tough for a goalie to be successful. So they were pulling him just to keep his mind like, hey, you're not playing bad. You know, we're just pulling you because we don't want you just to get wrecked. And plus, it would be good for Adin Hill to get in there and get some experience, which it did help out. So that game's done. Played into the Oilers. Their coach keeps crying about them not getting enough power plays because they're, the Oilers, and just because they got the best power play percentage in NFL and NHL history, why aren't they getting more? It's like, you know what, fuck off. So in this next game, very well disciplined by the Golden Knights last night. Wonderful to watch. Golden Knights thumped them 5-1. So we just switched it up on them. And the biggest takeaway is the Golden Knights did not let a penalty happen until the very end of the game. I don't think the first one came until the third period, if I recall right. They controlled the neutral zone. They made the Oilers go 200 feet. So they had to go from the defensive to the offensive zone time zone. It was fantastic, which kept it a 5v5 game. And the Knights are better 5v5 team than the Oilers. And that showed last night is because they started getting goals in depth. They started getting their third line in. They started getting their fourth line in and producing more chances than the Oilers. They held dry. This is the first game that Leon Draisaitl did not score these playoffs. Think of that. Like, that's absolutely insane. This is the first game. So would that put it in like 9 games that Leon Draisaitl finally hasn't scored, which is absolutely insane. So they held him and shut him. The sad thing is, though, is Laurent Brossoit did go out on, as we said, a non-contact injury. But Adin Hill comes in off the bench, absolutely dry. And he had 24 shots against, 0 allowed against this team.
Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, off the bench. So normally, you got to be like, okay, this is going to be a little tough for a goalie to come off the bench, especially against the high-powered offense that is the Oilers. And Adin Hill comes in. But this has been something that has been all year where the Knights have had a goalie carousel. They've had 5 different goalies play for them this season, and just more injuries. So all these goalies have seen time. All these players have played in front of these goalies. And even if, say, now Adin Hill goes out, you got Jonathan Quick, who was able to see about 10 games, and players know his style. And I'm really excited that next man up mentality has been their thing all year. Jonathan Marchessault finally got 2 goals, which is great because he hadn't had a goal all playoffs. And so he got 2, which really opens up that line. Eichel, absolutely monster game, 2 assists, 1 goal. And after he scored his goal, he kind of looks up to the Oilers because he did not get drafted first. He got the second pick against Connor McDavid, who is, the superstar for the Oilers. So it was like an ode to like, hey, I had a monster game in Edmonton. You should have picked me. Haha, bitches. And I love it. I thought it was fantastic. But also very hard hitting. They were very disciplined. There was multiple times where Evander Kane starts checking and starts trying to get very chippy after the play, and the Knights did not engage. And I was really happy with that. Great discipline. They did not let the Oilers go on the power play. And yeah, there you go. That's my rant. I really like the Knights in this series as long as they can stay out of the box. And I've said it the entire time. And it showed. They dominated last night. Absolutely dominated last night. And they saved the box. They're the better team, in my opinion. I think it's a Knights Hurricanes Stanley Cup or the Oilers. I mean, the Oilers could come back. I expect to probably lose game 4, but I liked their answer in game 3 because you get whomped at home on game 2. You have to whomp them in game 3 on the road, and they did. So I'm very happy with how this ended up. But I think it's the winner of this series goes on to the Stanley Cup, and the winner of this series goes Stanley Cup, and I think the Canes go. So that's my prediction, and I really think either the Oilers or the Knights can beat the Hurricanes. So yeah. I think this is your Stanley Cup final right now, this series, and it's kind of showing that.
All right.
All right. I know that was longer than 5 minutes that you said, but I
No,
don't give a
no.
shit.
You
You took
gave
too
some
long.
you gave some good info right there, Casino. We will be back. We're going to wait till Friday because there's a bunch of big playoff games and the NFL schedule releasing on Thursday. So we can talk about all that on Friday. We'll be back Friday. I've been Will. That's Casino. And this has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios.